Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacey. I'm your host, Bob Gallagher. Joined in the studio today by my guest host, Peter DeMore. Pete, how you doing?
Pretty good, Bob. Great to be here.
Good to have you back. And we have our guest realtor with us today, Dennis Doucette, with Lear Realty out of Norwood. How you doing, Dennis?
All right, Bob. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. We asked you to come in and talk about what you're doing in real estate right now, what you're seeing in your market, which is pretty much everything inside the 128 belt, greater Boston area.
That is correct.
Right.
Yep.
How things go. We hear crazy stories about the insane Boston market, things selling the day they go on, way over asking. Is it kind of still happening?
It is. It is. I'd actually like to think that I'm in the trenches right now with it all. I have several buyers. I have several listings as well. And so I'm kind of working both sides of it. So I'm able to kind of see it from two different perspectives. So I don't just have buyers, I have listings as well.
Yeah. And it's just still lightning quick out there, isn't it? I mean, you basically put a house on the market and the next day you've got, 20 offers on your desk?
It could be that. You know what's funny is pricing is still so important in this market. And you do see some properties that if they sit for a week or more, you really look at it and you say that's overpriced, and maybe that realtor didn't understand or didn't really judge the market correctly, because you just say if it was priced correctly, it would have had multiple offers and it would have went right away.
Right. You remember back even a couple of years ago, well, maybe more like a few years ago now, where to get feedback on price, it was like, well, it's been on the market for 2 months, so maybe we're a little high. Now it's like, oh, it's been 5 days, it's not sold yet, it's too high.
It really is that.
Just crazy.
Absolutely. It's funny, and it's the same model, but just the time frame is much tighter as far as that goes.
Yeah, from 60 days to 5.
Yep.
I still can't get over it. And in a lot of cases, you look at a house that's been on the market for 5 days, and you're thinking, oh, wow, what's wrong with it?
Absolutely. I can think of that. That just happened recently, last week or two, where we looked and said, boy, they didn't get an offer after the first open house.
Yeah.
Maybe something.
I've got a friend that's actually looking at buying. They're selling and buying right now, or trying to. And I happen to go on in a couple of the towns they're looking to buy in, seeing what was on the market, and I was like, oh, there's tons of stuff. What are they saying? There's nothing available. And then I start clicking stuff, even the stuff that says new. As soon as you click it, it's contingent. I mean, it's been on the market for a day. It's under agreement. Mm-hmm. And this isn't inside Boston. This is going out towards Worcester.
Yep. It's definitely, I think things are moving away from Boston because it's so competitive. Mm-hmm. So you're just seeing just the prices are changing a little bit. You're getting a little bit more for your money, but you're still going through the same kind of bidding war that you're doing in the greater Boston area.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that might help a little bit is, I don't know if you're following what's going on with the commuter rail, but they just announced the new Worcester to Boston line schedule. Mm-hmm. And you can make it's a direct, I forget what they call them, the express trains. You can go from Worcester to downtown Boston in 55 minutes.
Yeah.
No stops.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, you could live in Wellesley and not make it into downtown Boston in 55 minutes if you're driving.
So true.
You could live in Brookline and still not make it in.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's going to help a little bit. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff with the commuter rail. They're talking about extending the green line or the orange line, or I don't know what it is. It's always something, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think's got to happen for the housing supply to come back a little bit?
Well, the housing supply, it obviously, I think building is going to take kind of a back seat, because I feel that most areas have been maxed out as far as building new properties, new homes go.
Yeah, in and around the city, there's really no place left to build, is there? Unless
Right.
you're knocking something down.
Absolutely. So that's a good question. You know, you look at somebody that's saying, hey, why don't we try selling our house and buying? And if they're doing it in the same market, they're going to be kind of, up against some obstacles, especially if they have a contingency that they have to sell their home before they can actually buy. So now the competitiveness when they're trying to buy that's going to hurt them, because they're going to be going against people that don't have those contingencies, and they're going to have to, that's too many pieces moving at once. I mean, I actually have a buyer, or actually one of my listings. Were able to buy their new house without selling their old house, and so they're in a unique situation where it's great. So they don't have the contingency, and I believe that helped them get the house that they finally bought.
Right.
And the realtor kept asking, "You sure they don't have to sell their house to buy this?" I says, "Nope, they're able to do that." So it's almost the best case scenario right there.
Right, because a lot of people now, most people can't do that. So a lot of people are being forced to sell their houses and move in with family until they can find a house to make an offer on. And then, I mean, that's just kind of where it starts. I mean, it's not like you find a house, you make an offer on it, and then you move in 30 to 60 days later. I mean, kind of tell us what your buyers go through these days, or buyers in general.
Lots of stress.
Yeah.
Lots of stress. Lots of frustration. I feel like not only am I their real estate agent, I'm their therapist as well. I'm able to talk with them and say, give them some perspective and try to have them not get their heart set on things and just kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
And you have to educate them. You have to tell them all the possibilities that can happen here. You got to let them know what we're up against, and we just try and put our best foot forward. And so, we obviously make sure they're pre-approved. We make sure their financing's super sound and rock solid. Lock that up, and sometimes I'll even ask them to write cover letters to when they're giving offers, because sometimes sellers like to see and put kind of a personal touch to it,
right,
and really kind of talk about themselves, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to say no to them when they say, hey, wow, they really wrote a nice letter, and but I mean, you could lose out on a house if you you could have the same offer as someone else, and you decided to put 5% down, and the other person put 10%, and so they went out because they have to find a reason to choose, no matter
right.
what. You know what I mean? So it's difficult. Definitely.
Yeah. It's not like it was in the old days. Back when I bought my first house, maybe 99, 98, I forget now exactly, but I mean, there was way more supply than there were buyers. I mean, so you had your pick. I mean, I guess that was the opposite end of the spectrum. Now it's you have to find something to make an offer immediately or you're going to lose it. Back then it was just there was so much to look at. It was hard to make a decision because you had your pick.
That's true.
But it's got to be tough. I can't imagine being out there right now looking at houses and on average, do you track how many times people make offers before they ultimately end up getting a house?
So, that's a good stat. I should probably look into that and find out where that is.
I mean, it's certainly not 1-to-1 anymore, right?
Yeah, definitely not. I almost prepare them for that right out of the gate. And what I see is they'll have a kind of an area that they're looking at, and they'll be frustrated because they're not getting what they want in that area, and they'll expand that. And so, I have a client right now. We were looking in one area closer to Boston, and she's now saying, we need to look near the New Hampshire border and even in New Hampshire. And so they're really compromising where those kind of things are being compromised and saying, what, we'll live further away. It's fine. And so, normally back in the day, you'd say, I have 10 towns. I should be able to find something.
Yeah.
We're expanding to 20 plus now.
Wow. And still having difficulty.
Absolutely.
And what about prices once you start moving outside that 128 belt? Does it get a little bit easier as far as negotiating, or are you still ended up in competitive bidding situations?
Well, once again, it's pricing's everything, and listing agents, if they price their property accordingly, I mean, if you get outside of the Boston area, you're going to get a lot more for your money. More land, bigger house,
right?
And the price you'll be able to get that for that the price range that you would that you like, but basically it's still a bidding war. It definitely is. It's not. It's just on a. It's all relative, so to speak. So you're going to get more house, but you're going to bid for that as well. And so
So there's maybe a little bit easier once you get outside 128, but it's even last year we weren't really seeing the bidding wars outside 128, and certainly not outside 495. But even that's happening now. It boggles the mind. Once it starts happening out as far as Worcester, I mean, where do you go from there? I mean, we're going to be talking about next year moving to Springfield if you want to buy a house. I mean, I hope not.
With the increases of rental costs, and these first-time home buyers making decent incomes and no tax incentive, they're forced to get out there and do something.
Yeah,
forced.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's no write-offs for rent, or nothing
right.
that you really want to count. It doesn't do much for you.
Right.
What about rents in the areas that you cover?
Well, it's funny. I actually own two multifamilies. I have one in Revere and one in Rosendale, and rents are great right now. I mean, really, you can obviously you're closer to Boston. They're a lot higher, and a lot of activity on rentals. I've actually had the tenants for quite some time in both the buildings. So when you look at that, you say, why haven't they bought? Why haven't they looked to buy? And I do let them know I'm a real estate agent. I can help you if you're, and I think they just know it's so competitive. So maybe they're just holding off or trying to see what's going on.
Or maybe you're not charging enough.
Raise their rent. They'll buy something.
It's a big turnaround, right?
Yeah, double their rent and then you'll have buyers.
That's a good point, Bob. That's a good point.
Now, what about people that are trying to get into the real estate market for the first time? Back 5-6 years ago, a lot of people used to buy multis to get started because you can use the rental income to supplement to make the mortgage payment.
That's what I did.
That's
what I did.
Do you see anybody doing that anymore, or is it just too tough to get into the multis these days?
I think multis are crazy right now. Just take Norwood, for instance, where I live. we've had multis that literally go up and are gone, and they're being bought by investors now more than anything. So these are cash buyers mostly, and they have that income, and contractors, and say if there's a multifamily that needs a little bit of work, they can come in and they say, well, I'm the contractor, so I know what it costs to fix these things.
Yep.
I have the income, I have the cash flow, and they're coming in. So it's really tough for multis, because I have a couple clients looking at multis, and they're just very frustrated. And you need 20% down if you're not going to live there, to put down. And then if you're going to try and be an owner occupied, it's just like I said, I see more investors than actual,
Yeah, it seems like the owner occupants are getting priced out. It's ultra competitive.
It really is.
Between investors and people that are just looking to flip.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What about buying multis and turning them into condos? You still seeing a lot of that?
Yes, absolutely. You look at certain areas like Jamaica Plain and Rosendale, for instance. There's a lot of that going on now because the market's getting very expensive close to the city, so you'll see kind of a residual of people moving to that. So the rents are going up, but then you're also seeing people taking multifamilies and saying, hey, if I turn this into condos, I could sell them for X amount of dollars, and that brings a lot of value to those properties. So
right.
Absolutely, that's a condo. The condo market for that, especially around the greater Boston, within the Boston area, is huge.
Right. Right, and which kind of compresses rents even further because you're taking rental units off the market.
Right.
And you're also taking multifamilies off the market for future owner-occupant buyers. I mean, you're just getting hit from all sides.
It really is, absolutely.
So really, I mean, the only way I see out of this is by building. And we'd have to start building at a record pace to even put a dent in it, wouldn't we?
I think so, yeah. I mean, compared to last year, inventory's down, without a doubt, from last year, I believe. Buyers have increased, so you're just seeing such a demand for these properties, and people are willing to pay and overpay for them.
Right.
Yeah, and you're not even seeing the buyers who would like to upgrade their house because there's nothing to buy to upgrade.
Correct.
So they're not going to sell yet.
Well, there is. The problem is, though, that because of the government making it so expensive to build and do subdivisions, the only thing anybody's building starts at like $800,000. I mean,
well, very true.
If you're selling a $300,000 house, you're probably not getting an extra $500,000 out of that house when you sell it.
Absolutely.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Why don't we talk a little bit about send out cards? You're also a distributor for that company, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think send out cards is basically my number one marketing tool that I use to appreciate customers and appreciate people I do business with. It's fantastic. I was so lucky to be introduced to it by Jay McHugh, and it's just a very simple process, really. It's just sending a card with a special message in it. It's professional. You can get pictures from, whether it be Facebook or online or whatnot, and you can just send out these cards to people, not asking for business, but just saying, hey, it was great doing business with you. It was great meeting you, or happy birthday, happy anniversary. I mean, there's more reasons to send a card than not to, and these people remember you, and you become top of mind, and you send them because you really care,
right?
And so then they remember you when it's time to sell a house or get a mortgage, And I know, Bob, you send out cards as well.
I actually do. It makes life so much easier because it was actually Jay McHugh that got me into it as well. He had me read Cody Bateman's book, and as soon as I was done reading it, I immediately signed up for send out cards because you think all these things will pop in your head, somebody's birthday or somebody's kid graduated from school, whatever it happens to be, and you're like, oh, I should send something. But 5 minutes later, you've forgotten about it because life is so busy. You never get to the store to do it, and the moment's passed. Now, 5 seconds later, I can have a card out in the mail to somebody.
Right. They got the mobile app that's right in your hand. You're sitting in line. I mean, how many times are we waiting to do things, and you're just waiting, and you say, wait, I can send a quick card, and you could start it and then finish it when you're, get back home on your computer. It's really a no-brainer, but it is funny how when you tell people about it, sometimes they're a little skeptical. Like, what do you mean this card and whatnot? And you say, listen, it saves you time. It saves you money. And those are two very important things for us in this business, without a doubt, Yeah.
You know what? I want to give out your contact info, too. So if anybody's looking to buy or sell anywhere inside the 128-95 belt, Greater Boston area, you want to give Dennis Doucette a call. He's with Lair Realty Partners in Norwood. Cell phone number is 781-254-1910. Again, it's 781-254-1910. Want to go back to real estate real quick here.
Sure.
One of the things we were talking about before we got started today was places where you can still buy without getting killed as far as price. So looking at the North Shore, you were even saying Lynn is starting to get kind of pricey.
Absolutely, yeah. Certain areas of Lynn, but absolutely we've lost out on property. We bid 20, $20,000 over asking price, and they had 21 offers. I remember the real estate agent.
21 offers.
21 offers
on a house in Lynn.
Right. And it was just, granted, it was a wonderful home. It was well maintained. It had, it was definitely a turnkey cape. It was a great home. But it was definitely frustrating for my clients to lose out on that, and you're just seeing that as well. That's a easy commute to Boston. You really look at the location of Lynn. It's you're near the ocean. You're not far from Boston as well. So that North Shore area is popping as well.
Yeah. So if Lynn is getting to the point where you're in multiple offer situations and selling over asking, where is there left to go? I mean, Peabody is a better option than Lynn as far as quality of the place, right?
Correct.
Are you running into the same issues there in Peabody where it's competitive, multiple bid type situations?
I can almost say that there's not a town in this area that's exempt from that, and I think it's all about pricing. I keep going back to that. You'll see if an agent knows what they're doing and they're able to price it accordingly and market it correctly as well and get it out there, there's just these hungry buyers. Everyone's just ready to pounce on the right property and try and find that hidden gem. I mean, on MLS, I've now changed all my updates to my clients to where they get notified within 15 minutes if a house comes on the market. I used to do daily emails where throughout the day they just get one in the morning, and then every day they just get one email. Now they're getting flooded all day because properties coming on throughout the day, and we just don't want to miss out on anything.
Right.
So we're able to go right after it and know within 15 minutes when a house becomes active.
So basically this is just a new reality for people buying houses. I mean, there's unfortunately just nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely.
You're going to have to be aggressive. You're going to have to go out there, have a number in your mind, what the house is worth to you, and just put your best offer forward, right?
Absolutely. I say that all the time. I say that to all my clients. I say, just put your best foot forward. Don't worry about everybody else. Don't worry about all the people in the open house and what we're up against. I'm going to advise you what we should spend on this. I'm going to not let you overspend. I'll talk to you about these things, but just say, this is what I want to pay for this house. Either I love it and I'll be willing to lose it if I don't get it for this price. And that's what we do. And so we just kind of go after each property like that. We talk about all these things.
Right. And I suppose if you haven't bought a house before, you don't know what it was like for us when we bought our houses. So this is just your reality.
That's
right?
it. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Good. Well, it's great having you on the show, Dennis. I want to give out your contact info one more time. Dennis Doucette with Lair Realty Partners in Norwood, 781-254-1910. Again, it's 781-254-1910. We're going to take a quick break for commercials. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.